Hello everyone, it's James from DivyneCrochet. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to give you 5 methods that I personally use to add distress detail into my crochet work. These methods will span from just small areas of distress detail within a panel all the way to adding bigger portions of distress detail to your work. So as I've used distress stitches in my work for quite some time, I've definitely picked up some tips I'm going to share with you guys. Before we get into the actual tutorial bit, I have linked all my social medias below. I also know a lot of you guys want to know the pattern that I use to make this exact jumper. I'm definitely working on that. Make some noise in the comments, not because I'm not going to do it, just because I want attention. Before we get on with the tutorial, I've linked all of my other social medias down below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment and subscribe. Right, I'm going to keep this intro short just because I do have quite a lot to get through, so we'll get straight on with this video. In this tutorial, I'm going to be using double knit yarn and a 5mm hook, but this is completely up to you. In my experience, working with a larger hook does yield nicer distressed crochet. The first technique I'm going to show you is to create like a laddered effect in your work. So what we're going to do is we're going to start chaining, and I think that these look better with quite tight chains. So I'm going to do 4 tight chains, skip 2 stitches and work into that 3rd stitch. And you can chain as many as you want, you just want to make sure the length of your chain mimics the length of the stitches in the row below that you're skipping. So after you do this, I would look at your work and make sure that you're not adding or taking away any length to your panel. In the next row, to build this stitch up, we're going to do the exact same thing of chaining 4 before carrying on with our stitch. In this video, I'm just going to be using these distress stitches with double crochet, but of course you can use these methods with any stitches that you would like. For this next method, we're going to be keeping the same principle, but instead of chaining 4, I'm going to pull the loop on my hook to the length that I'd like, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull that through just like a normal chain. So in effect, we're making one big chain before carrying on with our stitches. Now you can either stick with one or the other, but I do think you can use both to create more texture in your work. Also, you can bear in mind that you don't have to put these on top of each other. So in this example, I'm going to skip 2 more stitches and carry on with a second technique. So this time I'll be having to pull my loop longer, or if I was using the technique before, I'd have to chain more because this time I'm skipping 4 stitches in total. And when you're ready to close off this distress section of your panel, what you want to do is you want to chain the amount of stitches that you've skipped. So if you remember, we've skipped 4 stitches in total, and what I would do is make sure that these stitches are quite loose, just so this doesn't tighten this part of your panel. From here, you can just work your normal stitches into these chain stitches. So I'll do a double crochet into each chain. I accidentally did 5 chains earlier, so I've added an extra stitch to my work, but you can still kind of see the effect. It kind of creates this cool ripped effect in your work. So for this next technique, I'm going to show you how to build up rows of just distressed crochet. So I'm going to start by chaining, and from here what you want to do is you want to do random stitches. So I tend to lean towards triple and double crochets and do them with any tension you like, any technique you like. So as you can see, I'm kind of adding an extra chain here. And you just want to work random stitches into any area you'd like. So you can work around stitches that you've just done. You can pull through longer chains like we did in the methods before, and you just want to work with any stitch that you'd like. I'd try and change the stitch as much as you can just to add texture. And as you go along your row, you just want to stretch your work out to see how you're going. So as you can see, mine's leaning to the right a little bit, so I need to add a little bit more length to my row as I go across. And as you can see here, what I do sometimes is I'll make a cluster of kind of like poorly done Tunisian crochet. I don't know how else to put it, just yarn over a bunch, and this creates these cool kind of clusters of stranger looking stitches that I think adds a lot of texture. For me to close off this row, I decided to chain 1 and work a triple crochet into my last stitch, as the height of this row kind of mimicked a triple crochet. And I'm now going to chain 4 and turn my work before working on my next row. To add more texture to this panel, you want to kind of work into spaces you normally wouldn't work into. So sometimes I'll work into like the front or the back loop, especially into those longer chain stitches that we put in. Working your stitches just around one of the loops is going to create a cool effect.
And you just want to work all the way down your row, as I say, just checking that you're not adding or taking away any of your length. And I'm going to finish off this row by inserting my final stitch into one of the chain stitches that I did in the row before. This is just to kind of act as more security than if I was to wrap it around the whole stitch or into one loop. I've decided that I just want to do these 2 rows, so from here I'm going to chain 2 and carry on with my double crochets. So to get back to the work that you're doing before, you just want to enter the exact same amount of stitches that you were working with on top of this row. For this panel, I've been doing 13 double crochets and a chain 2. So I'll start my row with that chain 2 and do those 13 double crochets just in any available space. These don't need to be too neat, you just want to disperse them quite equally. And I've found this, along with using a larger hook size, allows the mesh crochet to stretch and not be super tight in certain areas. The fourth method that I use to distress my crochet work is definitely a smaller method where I'll just basically mess up a few stitches on purpose. What I'm doing is I'm replacing 3 of my double crochets with a chain 1, a triple crochet and a chain 1 before I get back to my normal stitches. As with the techniques before, you want to make sure that you're not adding or taking away any length to your total panel whilst you're doing this. I'm going to mimic a slightly different technique above, so I'm going to mess with those same 3 stitches but in a slightly different way before carrying on with my double crochets. And as with the method before, once you're ready to close off this section, you just want to add the stitches that you took away on top of any available space in your distress stitching. So I'm going to add those 3 double crochets just anywhere that I can evenly across this area. This creates a nice small distress detail that's nice either by itself or as a way to balance out bigger projects where you use a lot of distress stitching. The final method that I'm going to show you is how to make a panel of just distress stitches. So you want to start by chaining the length of panel that you'd want. I'm going to show you how to work this into a cylinder rather than making a panel like I've been showing you before. Now in this video I am going to be showing you how to do this stitch, but I am currently working on a tutorial on how to make a jumper just using this stitch. As you can see, I started off with some chain stitches and I'm just going to do those kind of random double, triple crochets just anywhere that I can. And with this kind of technique, honestly doing it in the worst kind of least technical way that you can, so adding chains, places, pulling through strings, you know, crocheting around random bits, as I say, doing that like weird messy Tunisian crochet. This will just add a lot of texture to your work. So once you've worked all the way around your chain length, you want to slip stitch into wherever is available. And at this point, what we're going to do this time is we're going to stretch our work, and the chain length and the row we've just created, that top row, should be stretching to the same length. From here, I've chained a few and I've flipped my work inside out, so I've effectively turned my work around. And from here, we're just going to carry on with that exact same stitching. And this is going to be how we build up our project. And as I've said in the other techniques, you just want to check that you're keeping everything as even as you can. But realistically, because we are using a bigger hook size, everything will all stretch out, so it will kind of even out to whatever shape you need it to be. As I say, I'm going to go through this method in another video in more detail, as well as ways that you can build garments out of this stitch.
Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned something. If you have anything to add, please leave it in the comments below. As I say, social media is going to be linked down below. Hope you guys have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.